Imagine watching a live talk show where an atheist journalist thinks he's poised to humiliate a rising political star, only to be met with a story so powerful that it leaves the entire audience, and even the host, utterly speechless. Today we bring you that unforgettable moment. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and share in the comments your own experience of when a single story changed your perspective. Let's dive into a conversation that goes far beyond politics and into the very heart of what keeps us moving forward. Under the bright studio lights of American Perspectives Tonight, a show renowned for its fiery political debates, a polished modern set serves as the battleground. At its center sits Karoline Leavitt, a rising political firebrand known for her unyielding principles and her ability to connect with audiences on a deeply human level. Opposite her is Alan Brooks, a veteran journalist famed for his relentless, no-holds-barred questioning. Millions of viewers are watching. The tension in the studio is as thick as the anticipation echoing across the country. The debate has been marketed as a discussion on leadership and policy, but everyone knows it's about to become something far more personal. Karoline has built her reputation on standing firm, never shrinking from a difficult conversation. Meanwhile, Alan, who has long prided himself on exposing his guests' vulnerabilities, believes tonight he'll finally have his perfect gotcha moment. Alan begins with his signature provocative style. Karoline, you often speak of faith as a guiding force in your leadership, yet many claim that in our modern science-driven world, faith is nothing but an outdated crutch. His voice carries across the studio, and a murmur ripples through the audience. Karoline listens intently, her eyes calm and composed. With a measured tone, she replies, "You say faith is an outdated crutch, but tell me, what do people turn to when science can't explain the pain of loss, the weight of loneliness, or the desperation in their hearts?" For a moment, the studio falls silent. Even Alan is caught off guard by the depth of her question. Alan, expecting to corner her, presses on. Some argue that faith holds people back, keeps them from facing reality. Would you agree that it's a barrier rather than a bridge? Karoline tilts her head thoughtfully, a small, almost imperceptible smile touching her lips. I believe that in times of comfort, faith might seem superfluous, she begins slowly. But when life's storms rage, when you're staring at a hospital bed or losing someone you love, faith becomes the light that guides you. It isn't just about belief, it's about hope, resilience, and finding meaning even in the darkest moments. The audience shifts, their attention rapt. Alan's prepared skepticism is slowly melting away as Karoline's words begin to reshape the debate into something more profound. The air in the studio thickens. Alan, determined not to let her escape his challenge, leans forward. But Karoline, facts are measurable. Religious institutions have a history of abuse and corruption. How can you defend faith when it's been used to justify the worst of human actions? Karoline pauses, letting the question hang as she studies Alan's face. Then her voice becomes soft, yet powerful. I won't pretend that religion is perfect, but the true measure of faith isn't in its institutions, it's in the lives it transforms. I once met a woman named Margaret who, despite losing 2 sons, her husband, and almost everything else, woke up each day with gratitude simply because she believed that every new sunrise held purpose. That isn't a crutch. It's the strength that keeps us all from falling apart. Her words echo across the room, and the cameras capture every subtle shift. Alan's confident expression faltering, the audience leaning forward, touched by the raw vulnerability in her tone. If you're moved by this conversation, please hit that like button and leave a comment sharing a moment when hope carried you through hardship. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel for more deep, meaningful discussions that challenge our everyday assumptions. Alan regains his composure, but his tone is noticeably softer. So you're saying that belief isn't a barrier, it's a source of strength, he asks, his skepticism now tempered with curiosity. Exactly, Karoline replies. Faith isn't about denying reality, it's about facing it head-on. Even when the evidence is scarce, it's what gives people the courage to fight on when every logical argument tells them to give up. She pauses, her eyes locked on Alan. I learned that lesson the hard way. I once believed that policy and progress were the only answers, but when I met Margaret, a woman who had endured more loss than I ever imagined, I discovered that sometimes what we need most isn't a plan, but the simple, unmeasurable hope that comes from faith. Alan's eyes narrow slightly as he processes her words. And what if someone argues that hope isn't enough, that without tangible proof it's just a crutch? Karoline leans in, her voice a quiet plea for understanding. Then I'd ask them, when your child is sick, when you're left with nothing, what do you cling to? Data can't hold you up when your world is falling apart. Sometimes the human spirit needs more than cold facts. It needs a reason to keep going. The tension reaches a climax as Alan shifts the focus to a more personal query. Karoline, you've spoken about faith as hope. But isn't it possible that faith can blind us to harsh truths? That it can be used as a shield to avoid responsibility? For a long moment, the studio is silent. Karoline's eyes soften, and she reflects on memories that seem to come alive in the quiet hum of the cameras. I've seen faith used as both a sword and a shield, she confesses, her voice barely above a whisper. But let me tell you about Margaret again. Despite all her losses, she never used her pain as an excuse. Instead, she transformed it into a quiet strength that lifted everyone around her. Faith, for her, wasn't about avoiding responsibility. It was about taking on life's burdens with dignity. The room is spellbound. Even Alan, the master of tough questions, finds himself momentarily at a loss for words. The raw honesty in Karoline's voice cuts through the pretense, leaving the audience in stunned silence. Determined to reclaim his footing, Alan shifts gears one last time. Let's get real, Karoline. Many argue that without measurable evidence, faith is nothing more than wishful thinking. In a world driven by facts and figures, how do you justify holding on to something so intangible? Karoline smiles gently, a smile that carries the weight of a lifetime. Have you ever seen a sunset, Alan? She asks softly. No matter how many times you've seen it, its beauty never fades. It isn't measured in numbers, but in the feeling it evokes. Faith is like that sunset. It may not be quantifiable, but it lights up our lives in ways that data never can. It's not a relic of the past, it's the promise of tomorrow. Her words resonate deeply. The audience, which had been waiting with bated breath, now erupts into thoughtful applause. Even Alan's expression softens as he contemplates the simple truth in her analogy. As the debate draws to a close, the atmosphere in the studio is transformed. What began as a heated challenge has evolved into a profound conversation about hope, resilience, and the enduring power of faith. The audience is no longer divided by political lines. They are united in a moment of shared humanity. Alan finally speaks, his voice reflective. I think I need to process this, he admits quietly, a rare note of humility in his tone. The cameras capture his moment of introspection, and the audience is visibly moved. Karoline, still poised and composed, offers a gentle nod. In that quiet exchange, the true victory isn't about winning an argument, it's about reaching a deeper understanding of what sustains us when everything else fails. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment when vulnerability and truth completely changed the course of a conversation? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experience might be the inspiration someone else needs. If you found this conversation as powerful and thought-provoking as we did, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another deep dive into the moments that shape our world. Remember, in a world driven by facts, sometimes the most transformative truth is found in the quiet strength of hope. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep questioning, keep listening, and let the light of truth guide you.